pencil, crayon, whatever it is you got to come on with it, and we'll get you taken care of. Good morning, hey Michelle. How you doing, Miss Lady? Appreciating you. Hey Michelle. Make sure y'all share, tag, tell, bring whoever you gotta bring. Good morning, Zahir. Assalamu alaikum, my friend. Morning, morning, morning. I just shared with you. Good morning, Raji. Oh, we good. We're good. It's Friday. This grandma is fabulous. And that grandpa is fierce. Okay, so that's our TGIF. Hello, hello, hello. We getting ready to jump right in here in a second. And see my husband catching up. I unfortunately pinned the wrong comment. And there's the comment that needs to be pinned. That's right, WMSK, onlineradio.com, where talk radio just keep getting better. Yes, yes, yes. We are excited to be in here on another Friday by the grace of God. So please share, tag, and tell everybody where you are at this morning. And we about to get rocking in here in just a second. Psalm 47:4 says, delight yourself in the Lord, and he will give you the desires of your heart. This is Arlene Major, better known as Lady Blue, and you are listening to The Covenant Connection, live on WMSKOnlineRadio.com, where talk radio just got better. Be blessed. All right, all right, all right. Good morning, and good morning. It is Friday. Thank goodness it's Friday. Thank grace it's Friday. Thank God it's Friday. Just thank you, it's Friday. We done made it through another week. It is the end of March. Oh my goodness. 2019 already getting ready to fly right by. Okay. But thank you for joining us this morning. This is Covenant Connection Live, WMSKOnlineRadio.com, home of Cheryl Underwood Radio, where talk radio just keeps getting better. I am Arlene Major.
Good morning, family. This is Victor Major.
And we are so glad to be here with you all today. Make sure you are following WMSK and Covenant Connection on social media. You can follow WMSK on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. You can follow the Majors and Covenant Connection on Instagram and Facebook as well. And, you know, We're going to be continuing our marriage series. We got a lot going on. There's a lot of things that have been happening in the last week since we've seen you. We don't even need to go over that. I'm sure y'all already know everything that's going on. So we're going to start off our day. Honey, if you don't mind, I have a prayer already because I read this prayer yesterday and I figured it was a good enough prayer for today.
Okay.
All right. So with all hearts and minds clear, Father God, we come to you in awe of the way you define our success, the purpose you have planned for us, and the faith it takes to walk in that purpose. Thank you for the blessings that abound in our lives and help us to look at our lives through your lens without outside influence, in true appreciation for what you are doing in our small corner of the world, within the walls of our house and with the gifts and the talents that you have given us. We pray to be good stewards of our time, our treasures, and our talents. Thank you for another day to fill our lungs with air and ponder the truth of your word and your love for us. Forgive us for taking that simple pleasure for granted and adjust our perspective to align with yours. As we seek to be successful, guide us to your definition over the push and pressure of what the world and our society deems it to be. Stir our hearts to sit in prayer and spend time with you each day before we walk out into the day. Arm our minds and guard our hearts with the truth of your word. Help us to find our place to serve and reach out to others, whether in our careers, our families, our hobbies, or our volunteer work. Open our eyes that we may see success in light of your love. 1 Peter 4, verse 8 commands to love above all else.
Yeah.
We pray today for your vision for our success. Help us to be astute to the call on our hearts and the strings in our souls. And the stirrings in our souls. Motivate us to do the next instruction you give or continue doing the last one we remember. Allow us to hear your voice above all others. Success is so often defined individually, Lord, but we're not put here on earth alone. Relationships are important. You have placed people in our lives for a reason. Create a generous and peaceable heart in us that looks to you first when making decisions in life. Let us not accumulate people for what they can do for us or discount relationships because they are not filling us up. Instead, we may look to you to fill the cup of our success in every area of our lives, monetarily, relationally, health-wise, in stewardship of our daily schedules. Help us to look outward with a servant heart instead of what we can get out of life. Bless us with hearts that have confidence in you, as Jeremiah 17:7 speaks of, Lord. Let us look to you for provision and relief of the frustration of comparison and failure. Regardless of where you have placed us in our community, help us to know assuredly that we are where we are for a reason and for your reason. That may mean monetary wealth or worldwide fame, and it may mean no one knows who we are outside of our small little town or our city. The beauty of your heart is that no person is more important or less loved than the next. Help us to define success in terms of your love, for you are love and you love us. That is our purpose on this earth, to spread the love, joy, hope that has made it possible for all to abide in through the selfless sacrifice of your son, Jesus, on the cross. Redefine success in our lives, Lord, and come in like a flood. Yes. In Jesus' name, amen. Amen. All right.
Amen.
That just kind of, when I read it yesterday, I'm like, this is it. I need to put that in there because, it talks about, success in all areas, but it mentions success in relationships. And that's what we're talking about, and that's what we're dealing with. We're talking about relationships. We're talking about marriage. So that just kind of fit the bill.
It is. And while we had it, can I just do a quick prayer as well? Again, because I found one on marriage that I thought was really good as well. So we can do a second prayer.
Pray all you want. Yes, sir.
This is a prayer of unity. Heavenly Father, we come before you for all you. Thank you for all you have done and continue to do in our lives and in our marriage. We come before you today, God, asking for a stronger bond of unity in our marriage covenant. Father, we ask that you give us the ability to be united front. For you letting nothing come between us. I'm sorry. Help us, Father, to identify and work through anything that is not pleasing to you so that we can continually reach higher levels of unity in our marriage, spiritually, physically, and mentally. We are thankful and excited to see the work of your hands as we do our best to seek your face daily. We love you and we thank you for all these things. In Jesus Christ's name I pray.
Amen. Amen. I like that one too.
Yeah.
There's not, you can't just say, nope, that's enough prayer. No, pray. Okay.
Yeah.
Pray,
and I wanted to be specific to what it was, our topic was today. And again, for our marriages and for, all marriages, for all who's listening, who's not listening, those who are seeking to get married, those who are in relationships, just looking for a closer bond, with each other, as we walk this walk with God.
Amen. I appreciate that. Thank you. So as we stated, we were continuing our marriage series, and just to touch back a little bit on some of what we talked about last week, we were talking about building that foundation, friendships, the things that go into building that foundation. I'm sorry, I didn't even have my little notebook out with my little notes in it. Shame on me. Shame on me. It is right here though. Yay, there it is. Yay.
I got my list as well.
All right. But we just want to recap a little bit on some of the notes because they are important. We did talk about Lord, pages of stuff together. We were talking about what happens before the marriage. We did, the man's view versus the woman's view. We especially talked about the thought process and looking at what each person needs to have going into, or what they're looking for going into that relationship. The importance of being friends first, because a lot of people will say in their marriage vows, I'm marrying my best friend. Is that person truly your best friend? Is that the person that you're going to rely on, to lean on, because your vows are not to be taken lightly, because that person is going to go through everything with you, good, bad, ugly, indifferent, up, down, your successes, your failures, they're going to go through it all with you. So is that what you are ready for? Are you truly putting them in that friend category like they need to be? So your opinion, honey, because you know me, I can go on.
No, I mean, again, that's one of my big things. I think is absolutely true. This again, it's part of our testimony. It's been a part of our relationship, and in talking to a lot of people, who gotten married. Again, I think that's been one of the foundations of their relationship. Again, the fact that they begin as friends, and And I heard a saying a while back, to have a friend, you have to know how to be a friend.
Yes.
So learning to be a friend to somebody just platonically, even though you're attracted to them or you consider a relationship, just to learn to be a friend first. And that bond that grows out of that friendship, man, can blossom into, anything.
Right.
Right.
Because like I stated, with your best friend, there's things that you will tell your best friend that you won't tell other people. It's just like in other relationships, you want your kids to be able to come to you to tell you everything as a parent. You want your children to be able to rely and trust in you on things like that. So you want the same thing in a friendship, relationship / marriage. That's, that there's that trust that's built there. A couple of the other things we talked about, again, friends first, getting to know each other, making the decision to marry, and what is the direction. And I think that's where we're going today, is making that decision to marry. We touched on seeing marriage as a partnership, and locker room talk. Those are some of the other things that we're going to be getting into. What the fellas say versus what the ladies say, and who you listening to, and is your relationship yours, or does it belong to social media, or does it belong to the public? That's the question. This is a time when what goes on in your house should stay in your house. It doesn't belong to social media. It doesn't belong to your best friends. It doesn't belong, if you talk to your mama, if you talk to your daddy, that's family. But your relationship, anything to me that you go through, it should be between you and your spouse. It shouldn't be between you and the rest of the family and the rest of your friends. That's what you and your spouse have to go through.
Yeah, but I mean, but also, again, we should know and have enough wisdom when to seek counsel in a lot of issues. Again, and that's one of the things we definitely wanted to address today, going forward as well, is to talk about maybe premarital counseling. Yes. and the things that go into the decision to get married, and just being preparing for that thing, because that's something that we did, and I think it definitely was helpful for us.
Most definitely. And, a lot of people, and I say a lot of people, but, I don't want to make it so broad. When you make the decision to marry, when the decision comes about to marry, premarital counseling can be done in many forms. It can be done just between the two of you. You bring in a pastor. You go to a licensed marriage counselor. Excuse me, I have hiccups right now. You go to a licensed marriage counselor, and that's just to make sure that this is the that you're ready for, because this is the long haul. This is not something that you're good with it for about a week, and then when you get tired, you can go someplace else. No, that's not what it's about. So when you think of premarital counseling, what do you think? What's your version of premarital counseling? I'm not talking about what we went through. When somebody says premarital counseling to you, what comes to mind?
What comes to mind for me is, again, just seeking the advice of somebody who maybe has been there before, who knows a bit about your relationship. Again, and that's, the Bible always it talks about, seeking that good counsel, but also understanding that all counsel is not good counsel, so have the discerning enough heart to know who you can speak with about those issues. Again, because if you got, I've, me before personally, talking about or considering marriage, had talked to a lot of people, and some people, because they've had bad experiences, they have no good counsel to give you other than say you don't do it right. Other than say don't
you
do
sure,
it.
brother, you want to jump that rope? Okay,
But no, seeking those things that you may not even consider before getting married, so you can know what road it is you're going down. Everybody's perception, and we're going to talk about, perceptions of marriage is some people's perceptions are different. If they haven't experienced, marriage in their own household from their mother and father being married, or haven't had experiences of people around them, those comfortable, functional marriages, they don't, their perspective is completely different than somebody who's seen long-term functional marriages.
Right. And as we talk about premarital counseling, there's a lot of questions that could be answered. I know my husband and I went through, what was it, 150 questions? 50 or 100 questions that we went through. And we honestly and truthfully answered those questions. And once we answered those questions with each other, whether we liked the answers or not, then we went to the pastor that we wanted, to have, at the church that we wanted to have our wedding in. And we sat down with Pastor Abrams and his wife.
Yeah, and Pastor Johnny L. Abrams of Harvest Assembly Baptist Church, just so they know exactly who it is we talking about.
Alexander.
I thank God for him.
Yes, and it was a great time, and there was really no hesitation. We were able to answer all his questions, and we were able to openly ask questions of him as well. We had things written down. He wanted us to write things down. So it wasn't just a nodding session and and then a look at each other like, hi, honey. No, it wasn't that kind of session. We got down with it over dinner.
We got not only over dinner, but we sat down in the church and we talked about some things. He gave us some things, and some things we had already known, but he threw some things at us that we had already looked at in the premarital counseling questions. We went online and looked at premarital counseling questions, and we realized a lot of those things that were in those premarital counseling questions we had discussed, because we've been friends for so long. A lot of those things we had talked about.
Right.
So it was good, and we that's why it made me feel so much more comfortable about the direction that we were going, because we had talked about so much.
Now, for me, I know when I looked at a lot of the questions, and I'm sure, honey, you can attest to this, some of the questions that I looked at, and I'm sure some of the questions you looked at, I never saw the question come up about, what if this person was married before? I.e., I was married before. My first husband passed away a few years ago, but the point of the matter is, I've never seen that question asked. Okay, is that something to deal with? Is that something? I'm letting y'all know my husband met my ex-husband. He knew who he was. He knew of the family. He knew of my connection to this family because of my older children. But the point of the matter is I never see that question asked in any of the questions that I've seen, unless I need to go back and recount some of these questions.
No, and I think I'm not sure, but I believe Pastor had asked us about that.
Pastor asked that, but I never see, and I'm not saying Google is the end all be all.
And the thing is, there's so many sites and so many places where you can go and find different types of questions.
You can
come from different kind
of
angles. That we probably would have found that somewhere if we had.
I want to say good morning to everybody that's joining us on Facebook Live. I do see you. We do see you. Thank you for joining us this morning. Make sure y'all go over and give us a thumbs up and a like over on the YouTube channel. You can see a pinned post down there on Facebook Live. Give us a shout out there on YouTube. We appreciate it. But back to our what we're looking at. I have some things up here that says the premarital counseling questions you should ask. Okay, this is just one of many, but it has some general questions that always, to me, are always some of the basic questions that always get asked. Why are you getting married? Why? Okay. How would you like to help your fiance improve? How many of you think about that? It's not just about you, because it's now becoming the thing that we'll get into, seeing marriage as a partnership. What issues do you disagree about? And let me stop right there, because I want to say how disagreement is healthy. No, disagreement is healthy for a relationship, because if you both are just, agreeing on everything, y'all gonna be some miserable folks. Okay? I have my opinion, my husband has his opinion, but he can bring me down to where I understand where he's coming from. And then if he sees how passionate I am about some things, he'll bring me down to where both of us can understand where I'm coming from and where he's coming from. So it's healthy to have a difference of opinion. Nobody said you had to come to blows with it, but it's healthy to have, a disagreement. It's not the end of everything. It's just you voicing what you believe, what you feel, and those things. So it is healthy for a good marriage, in my opinion.
Absolutely. And we talked about that, as a matter of fact, a few months ago, just about, conflict resolution, because there's going to be some conflict, there's going to be some disagreements, and how do you resolve those? Right. How do you resolve those things? So if you go into a marriage and have no idea about how to resolve conflict about some things that you may not have even thought about, then you're going to walk into a very difficult situation. It could blow up and, ruin the marriage if you don't have that foundation, that you considering I'm to death do you part.
Right.
Because some people don't take that thing, so seriously. And I got a story about that I read the other day, because I'm reading something in the Bible app about marriages. So I want to share that a little bit later.
A couple of the other questions, and this is always a biggie in relationships: how will you manage your finances together? Because you have your finances, he had his finances, and now you're bringing it together. And that's always a big thing. And sometimes that's why people get divorced, because they can't agree on money.
That is absolutely the biggest reason. If you look at all the studies, you look at everything, any and almost every site about marriages and why they break up, the biggest thing is finance, and then comes cheating. Okay, so finance is bigger. Yeah. How will you divide the chores? Do you want children, and if so, how many? Now on that one, you may not, if you haven't had children before and you'll be talking about children, or if you have children and you're blending families. Okay, so that's always something that should be and should be asked and should be considered, and what roads you want to travel and things of that nature. Because discover you get married and then find out that person really don't want children, it's gonna put you in a whole different mindset. And I have to say on that, and then honey, I'll let you have the floor. I have to say on that, because you see a lot of these ridiculous reality shows, 90 Day Fiance and all these other ones, and these folks really are not considering the long haul. I'm telling you, they're not. In 90 days, maybe for some people it will work. You will find your soulmate or the person that you want to spend your life with, but you must realize that even though a lot of people don't see marriage as work is work, people. Absolutely.
I'm not saying it's a job, you're not getting paid for it, there's no union dues, there's none of that you have to think about. But it is work, because just because you did everything you did to land this person and walk down the aisle, what makes you think that you don't have to keep doing the same thing to keep this person?
Yeah, I mean, and in reality, that's when the work really begins
Mhm.
after marriage. I mean, there's some things you can do beforehand, but its practical uses really don't begin until
Right.
after you get married, because
Right.
that's when it's real. That's when it's
more than a
legally
party.
binding,
Right.
and now you connected, by law.
Right.
So that the mindset for some people changes
Right.
after that thing is
It's
real.
more than the party. It doesn't stop after the piece of paper when you go and you stand before the clerk of the court and verify that this your mom and your daddy and this your mom and your daddy and you two agree to be so it's more than the piece of paper. The piece of paper just shows you did it, okay? And it's more than the party. It's more than the dress. It's more than how many people you got in your bridal party. It's more than how many people are coming to your wedding. It's more than who's out doing who and who's got what food and this, that, and the other. It is more than that. Because I know for my husband and myself, it came down to just having a very intimate ceremony. And we gonna party later. But right now it's about us. It's about our marriage. It's about our family. It's not about inviting 200 people and losing our minds over how much you spend on invitations and the right invitation and so on and so forth.
Right.
So that to me is the difference. And I will not change, our ceremony for the world. It was like the best ceremony ever. Ever. And the church was in my color, blue. Anyway. Before we go to commercial break, anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, I remember in our premarital counseling, and Pastor came up with a couple of good questions that kind of threw me off guard a little bit, but we really had to think about it. And the one major one that I thought about, major, okay.
Yes.
But yeah, the one major question he asked was
you get $1
about,
about,
and I think a lot of people should ask is, what is a deal breaker in your marriage? What is something that you just will not, cannot, and won't deal with that will destroy your marriage? And that's a big one. It's definitely something to consider. And people think and throw that thing around before marriage, not really thinking about it after, what's going to happen after marriage. But it sometimes changes after marriage, because now like I said, you legally bound.
Mm-hmm.
The efforts you have to go through to, end this thing is a big consideration.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
so that's one of those questions that, like I said, I liked it. I'm glad that he asked it, and it took a little thought. But I really didn't. I didn't really have too many deal breakers, especially anything that I could think of that could actually happen between us, because we've known each other so well.
Right.
That I couldn't think of anything that would really be a deal breaker. I mean, especially knowing, okay, now I've made this commitment, this covenant before God. Then it wasn't too much that I could say, okay, well, I'm just not gonna deal with.
No, and the other thing is that with that and knowing where we stand faith-wise,
right?
God gonna deal with you on that aspect.
Absolutely.
So with God dealing with you on that aspect, and I've talked about it before, I'm gonna say it again. It's that third strand, and that is God. There's the two of you, and that God is in the middle of it. If God is not in the middle of it, a twist gonna come apart. Period.
Mm-hmm.
But a braid is stronger than a twist.
Right.
Okay, will withstand the pushing, the pulling, the stretching, all of that stuff. It can withstand that. And I think you make a very good point. What is a deal breaker? Put that in. If you're a marriage counselor, put that in your questions. Okay, what is a deal breaker? Think about those things. And when we come back, I want to talk about these checklists that women tend to put up. I don't know about too many men to put up checklists. I know there's things that they will and won't put up with, and I know there's some women, there's things they will and won't put up with. But that checklist thing drives me bonkers. I understand it, but it drives me bonkers because I feel a lot of women are shortchanging themselves because they're not getting what's on their checklist, and their blinders are on so bad that they're not seeing the other person for the value that they are as opposed to the material that they own. I'm just saying, ladies, so bear with me, okay, on that one, and then we will continue with premarital counseling. Other than that, we're gonna go to commercial break and pay the piper. We're gonna come back and we're gonna jump right back into things. We got a little short break where we're gonna talk about some of the things going on with WMSK, but we're gonna come back and deal with that, okay? Okay. So we are the Majors, and this is Covenant Connection Live right here on the home of Cheryl Underwood Radio, WMSKOnlineRadio.com, where
Talk radio just got better.
yes, sir. We'll be right back. Oh, look what you did.
I always trying to spring some stuff on me.
Hi, I'm trying to get you involved. Hey y'all, hey y'all, hey y'all. Thank you for joining us. I appreciate y'all. Like I said, go on over to YouTube. Give us a thumbs up, give us a like, just stop in, subscribe. That way you can go back and you can watch this at your convenience. You can watch it over and over, you can rewind, you can do whatever, and that way you can catch up if you came in on the middle of things. So we appreciate y'all and thank you so much for being a part of Covenant Connection. Thank you, Maddie.
Okay, 7171 Security Boulevard, Baltimore, Maryland, 21244. Men, women, and kids, we do it all with the professional.
Y'all make sure you share this video, tag this video. I will put it on a watch party later for those of you who want to catch this later. So everybody will have the opportunity and the chance to enjoy the show.
Please tell them, WMSKOnlineRadio.com.
Going to do with your old car. You can try selling it, you could junk it, or you could donate it to Heritage for the Blind. Your car will be towed away for free, and your donation is tax deductible. Please call 1-800-639-8620. Heritage for the Blind accepts cars, vans, trucks, and
All right, get an invite in.
your vehicle runs or not. It'll be towed away for free, and you'll be supporting those that need help. Heritage for the Blind is a non-profit organization that helps the visually
I had my 30 grams of protein, family. Y'all know. I know I need to have about 24 grams of protein to do my, or actual another 30 to have my protein for the day. And pretty soon, we'll be through the first 50 of water. 100 of water. Hey, Marquez, excuse me. Good morning, son.
The views and opinions that are
What's up, Marcus?
WMSKOnlineRadio.com are those of the guests, hosts, and callers, and not necessarily those of the station. It's management, hosts.
Okay, y'all bear with me. We're going to drop back in real quick.
Founded on WMSKOnlineRadio.com can't promote any lifestyle, belief, religion, political affiliation, or personal practice. These shows are for entertainment only. Thanks for listening.
All right, y'all, we're back for a real quick break just to let y'all know what's going on with WMSK. So Lady Blue is about to give you some news, okay? Make sure that y'all mark your calendars for April the 6th because Kiki Wyatt will be in town. That's right, Kiki Wyatt will be live at Charm Club Baltimore on 407 East Saratoga Street in Baltimore, Maryland from 7 p.m. to 11 p.m. So if y'all are Kiki Wyatt fans, you need to go on and you need to get your tickets. You can find it on Eventbrite. You can find it on YouTube. You Matter. You too Matter Radio. Okay, I'll get it straight eventually. Okay, Charm City Live, but get your tickets. Tickets have already been won. We've already done the giveaways for the tickets here on WMSK Online Radio. So congratulations to those that have won the tickets to go and see Kiki Wyatt live. And y'all gonna have to share your experience. Please make sure you share your experience when you go to see Kiki Wyatt. Other than that, if y'all have not gotten it yet, please get it. I know y'all are not under a rock anymore, but get Urban Reality News right in your hand. That is State versus Us magazine. Highlighting high-profile cases, wrongfully convicted stories, corruption in the prison system and police department, success stories of former inmates, entertainment, and more. You can find us on Instagram Facebook, and Twitter, and you can get your copy today. You can pre-order the fourth issue right now. Go to stateversususmag.com. That's stateversususmag.com. If you have a story to tell, want ad space, or want a feature in this magazine, which is a hot magazine, I wish I could tell you all. It's in across the United States and in Canada and going international. I'm telling you. You can email stateversususmag@gmail.com. That's stateversususmag@gmail.com. If you're on Facebook Live right now, you're seeing the premiere issue cover, which has the founder and CEO of WMSK Online Radio, Ms. Connoisseur herself, Tia Hamilton. And the article written on Tia is called Boss Brand, written by yours truly, Lady Blue. Also, the second issue has my song, The New York General, on the front, and some of the stories in there on our former Black Panther. I can't remember his last name, but I know the first name, Eddie. And you also have the story from Akeem Browder discussing his brother Khalif. And you have the third issue, which is a dual cover that has Mel the comedian on one side and Wallow 267 on the other. And you can pre-order, as I said, the fourth issue that is going to be coming out. I believe it's in June, but pre-order now. And Freeway Ricky Ross is on the cover. That was an explosive interview, so y'all want to make sure that you get in on that. There's something in there for everybody, and it's going to be a hot issue. That's all I can say. So pre-order your copies, get it rocking. If you have a loved one or somebody you know that is behind the G wall, get them this magazine. This is a magazine that you want them to have. So make sure you email stateversususmag@gmail.com and let them know about what's going on. Also, want to make sure y'all know March Madness for Beautiful Blue is going to be over on the 30th of March. So y'all got today and tomorrow if you want to get in on March Madness with Beautiful Blue. You have a chance to win $50 worth of product from Beautiful Blue if you go to the website, www.marykay.com/amajor2019. You register for free and you place an order. You can double your tickets. Double your tickets. You get one ticket for registering, one ticket for placing an order. If you order $30 or more, you're going to double your tickets. If you order $50 or more, like I said, it's March Madness. I will double those 4 tickets to 8. Okay? Double the 4 tickets to 8. Free product, ladies and gentlemen. That's all I'm going to say. Easter's on its way, so maybe we get the skin and that body right for summer coming up. Other than that, come on over and discover your beautiful blue, where you believe, love yourself. What else have we got going on with WMSK? Whew, let me tell you. WMSK got a lot going on. Ms. Connoisseur is still traveling back and forth to New York. She spoke at Columbia University. That was, if you did not see that interview, you need to head on over to WMSKonlineradio.com on Facebook and check out that Facebook Live with her interview with Columbia University. That was, did you get to see it, honey?
No.
Let me tell you, that was a room full of lawyers that I think basically they were shocked and they were amazed, I believe, in what they were hearing. I don't think they were, to hear what they heard and how they heard it coming from a person that's been in that situation and what's coming to, I don't think they were ready for that. They didn't know how to handle that. And just hats off to Ms. Connoisseur for going out there and putting the word out for these people that are being forgotten. They have family members that die off. They have family members that just forget them because they're in there. And this is something that she does not want people to forget. They're still people, regardless of what they've done. So that's an interview you definitely want to watch. She did another interview yesterday up in Brooklyn or up in New York. So she's pushing it. She's going to be going back out to LA again. So there's places that are clamoring for this State Versus Us magazine. They want this news. They need this news. So please get your copy, see what's in it, see what's going on with it, and just, support Black business, Black-owned business. That's what it's about this month. Try your best next month, starting next month. If you have not done so, I know this month I supported 3 businesses. I encourage you and I challenge you to support at least 3 Black-owned businesses during the month. It doesn't matter if you buy a t-shirt, a bottle of juice, a sticker, okay, a logo, you get your tickets done, whatever it is that you can do to support Black-owned business. support. Okay, we need to start getting that money circulating within and turning over and things like that. So support Black-owned business. It doesn't matter where it is. Also, before we cut over again to commercial break, I do want to make you all aware that my husband is working on his own ministry. Honey, you want to talk a little bit about your ministry, Gentlemen of Destiny?
Sure.
Okie dokie.
Yeah, this it's called Gentlemen of Destiny Mentoring Program, and it's a seed that God planted in me some years back. Again, just seeing so many young men particularly of color who do not have father figures or do not have mentors in their lives. To watch over the years, so many young men go astray, and then the past few years, to see so many young men losing their lives because they don't have that foundation to keep them online or walking a straight and narrow. And some to think about our young men then becoming father figures without that foundation.
Right.
It's a broken cycle that's in our community that definitely needs to be shifted and changed. So yeah, it's a biblically based program. It gives some practical. Um, there's some practical thoughts, but they're also biblically based. Again, it tells you what the scripture says about all these particular issues that we're going to talk about. Just to give a couple, we talk about respect, respect and authority, living to love. We talk about character and integrity. We talk about responsibility and accountability, identifying and overcoming spiritual and mental enslavement. So there's some heavy topics that we need to address in our community in particular. And again, it's not so much age specific because a lot of those issues are issues of life.
Right.
So these are things and then to understand what the Bible says about these things to give us that foundation, because that foundation that I have in my life. And I thank God for having a mentor. Thank God for having a father and gentlemen in the community that stood up and helped guide us. Now our communities are so split up and so singular, so much into our own household. Let me keep my own business. Let me, stay out of everybody else's
And
business.
then the
That we're
streets
not
are soaking up our kids.
absolutely. We're not, as men, not invested in our young men the way the men of past generations have. So that's the foundation of the Gentlemen of Destiny Mentoring Program.
Right, and I know you've reached out in the community, you've talked to local police authorities, you've talked to pastors, you've talked to a lot of other individuals, and I do want to give a shout out to those individuals in Baltimore County, Baltimore City. I also want to shout out Charmstar Enterprise with DJ Twiz for working with you on your logo.
Yeah,
Flyers are going to be coming out. There's all sorts of things that are happening as you build things like this. So it's very important that we recognize and uplift those that are helping. There's a Black business for y'all to support right there. Okay. We also want to shout out Bro Code Baltimore with Jermaine Burks, because that program is also about the youth in the city.
thing.
And she is doing wonderful things despite everything that is going on. Janae has no qualms about stopping and going up to young men and saying, pull your pants up. What are you doing out here hanging on the corner? Let me take you somewhere where you can, get off the street. So that's what we need for the young men that are out there. Our babies, our teenagers, our young adults, they need this. So thank you, honey, for that, and we can't wait for it to come to its full fruition. So we're going to pull out for a short break and come right back with our premarital counseling. So this is The Majors with Covenant Connection live on WMSKOnlineRadio.com, home of Cheryl Underwood Radio, where Talk Radio
just got done.
yes, sir, I love it. We'll be right back. old enough to know better.
If you have pain, we can help. Your knees are ow. Let me ask you again. Are your knees killing you? Are they
Not at this moment,
Do you feel like this? How about
but
you?
I experienced
They
that.
can get
Your knees and back feel like this. Oh, that hurts. I found a company called the Pain Relief Hotline. They specialize in
Hey, Touche.
back and neck pain without surgery or taking medications. The good news is if you have insurance, you may have little or no cost or out-of-pocket expense. I've used them. It works.
Money and music, just the grind, and I got STD, and 3 others shared.
0183 800-427-0183.
Talking to a brother at the gym the other day that,
That's 800.
kind of mentor to, and I reached out to him and let him know that, in his walk and his growth that, I'm there for him. Because sometimes he has these rants that he go on Facebook, and I remind him that's not the place for it, but also reminded him that, power of life and death is in the tongue, so the thing that he speaks, he's going to breathe life into
Out your mouth, boys.
if he's coming with that negative, but, understanding how to kind of deal with what it is that he's dealing with, and I always try to give him some word to encourage him.
Well, I'm sure he's grateful for that. Does it calm him down?
It does. I mean, he always, lets me know, and that's why he says he loves talking to me, because, I'm always going to kind of put things in perspective and give him another way of thinking about it, because he goes off that emotion that he feels when he feels slighted or hurt, or, somebody's done him wrong. And just understanding, there's a way to go about it. It's okay to feel the way you do, but what you do with that feeling is what makes the difference. And even in protecting yourself, even keeping your own peace.
Yeah, that's true. That is true. Did you see this latest one with they have all the pastors that they're questioning, and this is the latest from a pastor overseas that convinced his and encourages parishioners to eat like the oxen and be blessed from the grass of the garden of Israel. And these people are literally on the ground eating grass. And I'm quite sure all of them went home and were sick after that. Because what are you eating besides pesticide? Lord knows what else is on the ground.
Yeah, that's not seeking good counsel.
Can't just follow anything. You have to, like my husband said, wisdom, discernment. Gotta please pay attention to what people are telling you, because some people will tell you anything, and next thing you know, you either broke, homeless, or in the hospital.
Yeah, that's where that discernment comes in, and take it to God. If you have questions about it, if it don't make sense to you, please take it to God.
Pretty clean.
Yeah. That's pretty.
Coasters too. Yeah, place nice and coasters. That's pretty. Coasters you can do. I can do 4 coasters in a day. Those placemats will take a little bit, but they're pretty. That's a smaller book. That's what that is. That's almost doily like. Oh, thank you, Jesus. They finally decided to. Did you see this yesterday? This was this officer right here. They brought in a suicidal patient. Okay, he was on drugs. He was suicidal. They filmed themselves acting retarded, and one of them kept repeatedly striking this guy. And it was caught on camera. He was punching, he was slapping, he was berating him, all of that. And then he goes sit up there and smile on the camera.
He's an officer?
Police officer, yep.
Wow.
He is now, he's on suspension from what I understand. You see, he was convicted of stealing drugs from a crime scene and selling them. The man was already on the edge. And then you're going to put him through that. See, his actions are not the actions of everybody, and that's what people, I think, are missing out, or, it's just like, well, that's the police. No, that's him. That's not the police, that's him. He took his badge to a point where he thought he was above the law. He could do whatever he wanted.
But the only thing about that, again, he represents the police.
Yes.
And especially while he's wearing a uniform.
Yes.
And that's why so many people have a difficult time. Now, they still human, and they still, subject to the same things, but they also held to a higher standard.
Right.
And they should be, considering, what's their job to do.
Right.
So you can't expect them to be acting like the fools out there in the street.
Three.
I mean, just like, you talking about as Christians, if you call yourself a Christian and you do something and people call you out and say, yeah, that's what Christians do. You represent the Christian as you doing the things you do. That's why we have to be so mindful and careful about, our actions and how we act.
Mm.
Especially, being Christians and folks knowing, this is the walk that we walk in.
Agreed.
But you still won't give a black eye to the church or to Christianity, by acting up or acting out.
Then call. That's right. Call the low-cost airline travel hotline now for prices so low we can't publish them anywhere. Low-cost airlines has all kinds of cheap travel deals. Fly domestically and save up to
Yeah, the plan that I'm reading now is called Marriage, a Lifelong Journey.
Yes, fly anywhere in the world and save a lot of money on your plane tickets. We'll even save you money with cheap
On the Bible app?
Yeah.
rental cars, even complete travel packages. So don't forget
The story that I want to share is about the movie The Titanic. It's a real story that actually happened on that boat. Not just a love story or exact road. Much time ago.
After the song, we're going to pretty much be back in after the. I'm so happy for my cousin Geraldine. Her first grandbaby. We got a lot of first going on in the Williams Wallace Jones / Major family. Maya put up a post. Apparently, somebody said, "Did he leave you?" Because she was crying, when she found out what it is. So she had to post a picture to prove that he came back and hugged his wife. After all his excitement, I mean, he was excited. He's a dad. He's a first-time dad. He was massively excited. I just like the way they did their reveal.
Cool. Yeah, I like that.
That was exciting for those of you who are wondering about our wonderful conversation over here. A member of my family, we've got a lot of new babies that are coming. So my cousin's daughter and her husband were expecting their first child, and they did their reveal, which was so cute. They did kind of like a football pass, and he punted the football, and when he punted the football, it came apart and revealed the gender of the baby, and they're having a boy. So it was just the cutest way. No big fancy balloons and all this other stuff. Right in the backyard, family, food, comfort of the home. Nobody had to dress up or put out anything or, that, was ridiculous. So they were surrounded by family. And it was just beautiful. So, I'm sure my other cousins, my cousin Gwinnett and Sharita are just happy to be aunties again. So I'm happy for them. I really am. And then I've got coworkers that are expecting babies, and shout out to Amanda and Tim. They just found out that they're having another baby boy, and I know the Pollocks are having a baby boy as well. They already have a girl, so they're having a baby boy. So it's babies all the way around. Queen Fiend had her baby a few days ago.
Okay.
So congratulations to her on her baby boy, and I know that he will just have everything in the world. And also to Stephanie Randall, she had her baby boy. She had to have a blood transfusion though. She lost all the blood. She had a very large baby. I don't know what the weight of the baby is, but congratulations to all the new pregnancies and babies, and also shout out to the Beggs because they are expecting as well. So we got babies coming. Yay, babies. Okay. Excited, excited, excited. Ooh, look at that, honey. I love nature. Look at that water. It's absolutely gorgeous. Yeah, you know, they only film so much and then they loop it. Now this is funny. Photographer was trying to film the ceiling and two pigeons walked up.
Hmm. I was trying to figure out what that was.
Yeah. I kept looking at it going, is this Photoshop? But no, it was an actual photographer trying to film the ceiling. And two pigeons just kind of just, you know, like, what you doing? All right, we will be bouncing in after Sir Hammond finishes. Mm. All right, y'all, we coming back.
Psalm 37:4 says, delight yourself in the Lord, and he will give you the desires of your heart. This is Arlene Major, better known as Lady B, and you are listening to The Covenant Connection, live on WMSKOnlineradio.com, where talk radio just got better. Be blessed.
All right, all right, all right. We are back. The Majors are back with Covenant Connection on the home of Cheryl Underwood Radio, WMSKOnlineradio.com, where talk radio just keeps getting better. Make sure you follow on Instagram and Twitter, on social media, period. And just know that there's something for everybody here on WMSK Online Radio from Sunday through Saturday. There's a show for everybody. Team Truth, Spiritual Nourishment, Lady Blue, Covenant Connection, Open Wide with Deep, Between Friends. Let's see what else we got. True Grit, Let's Talk Baltimore, The Cipher, Uncut Sports Talk, Pipeline Radio. There's some, The Shop, everything. There's something for everybody. Lyrical Paradox, you name it, is here. If you have a show idea and you want to be on radio, just drop us a line. Go on over to WMSKOnlineradio.com, click on contact, drop us your show idea. We'll get back with you. If you're looking at sponsoring a segment of this show or any show or looking for radio marketing, head to the same website, click on advertise, drop us a line, and our marketing team will get back with you. That's what I love about WMSK. They're out in the community and they're doing what they do best, making sure we get the word to you. So let's get back to our topic of the day, which is premarital counseling. We're talking about a number of things, but premarital counseling is the biggie right now. Excuse me. We left off with a few questions that we, that jumped up, and we talked about some of the things that our pastor asked us, the questions that we went through. And I just want to say that sometimes, as I stated before, you could go across these questions and you all could get into a disagreement about what's going on with that. Okay, but understanding that disagreement is a healthy part of it, because that allows you room to come back and compromise and understand where each other are coming from. in order to move forward. And that's the way that you should look at these premarital questions. It's I'm sorry, I keep going back to reality TV because they got that new one out, Temptation Island, with these folks that are either married or in relationships. And so they bring them to a place where they bring some other people in to tempt them, for them to make a decision of whether they're going to stay with this person or not. Temptation is a daily thing, ladies and gentlemen, and I really wish they stopped paying people to, tear apart relationships. Either these people are going to be together or they're not, and I don't think they need the help of another physical human being to do that. But that's just my opinion.
Yeah, that in particular, I don't pay a whole lot of attention to, again, because it's for entertainment purposes, and I'm not for,
That's
the reality.
foolishness. That's
The
what it
reality
is.
shows just to entertain people when you got real life issues, and those are real life situations. Like I said, temptation is real.
Tearing apart people's lives for a profit. That to me just makes no sense.
Yeah.
But let's get back into premarital counseling. Some of the things I mentioned, some questions. There's some things on Google. Google asks some very interesting questions when you go researching things like this. One says, is premarital counseling a good idea? What to consider before getting married? Is premarital counseling free? When should you start premarital counseling? When do you think you should start premarital counseling?
I think when you first really seriously considering marriage.
I agree.
When it's really already set in your heart and this is something you really have decided you want to do, I think that's the time to do it, because it gives you time between that time and actually doing it to really hash out some things, to discuss some things, and
True.
see really if that's the direction you're going to go. If the two of you on that same page,
True.
before really making that commitment,
Right.
I think it has to happen in some form.
Right.
It has to happen.
Right, agreed. Now, y'all know I like definitions. So, premarital counseling is a type of therapy that helps couples prepare for marriage. It can help ensure that you and your partner have a strong, healthy relationship, giving you a better chance for a stable and satisfying marriage. So, why wouldn't premarital counseling be a good idea if you want a stable and healthy relationship? Because the thing is, and a lot of people don't like to ask for help, and they see going to counseling, and they see going to therapy, or they see going to someone who's certified to deal with the mind. They see that as a weakness, and it's not a weakness to want something to work for the better.
Yeah.
Be it your relationship or your brain, it's not something that you should be ashamed of. It shows the strength in you wanting to make sure that your foundation is solid.
Absolutely. I mean, and I'm glad you brought that up again, because I have some scripture here that again talks about counseling and why it's wise. So if you let me share a couple of them here.
Please go right ahead.
Okay.
No, you cannot. Okay, so go ahead, honey.
No, and I got a couple here I'm trying to read quickly. First one is in Proverbs 12 and 15. It says, the way of a fool is right in his own eyes, but a wise man as he is who listens to counsel. So a fool would think they got all the answers and they can do it on their own, but a wise man actually seeks the counsel of someone else, again, because we don't have all the answers. Again, another one here in Proverbs, and Proverbs has a lot of this wisdom about counsel. Proverbs is exactly, and it's good wisdom. Okay, Proverbs 11 and 14. It says, where there is no guidance, the people fall, but in an abundance of counselors, there is victory. So again, it's speaking to finding some guidance and counsel in areas that we need to be strengthened. And you have to be a fool not to want some wisdom from somebody else to help strengthen what it is you have. That's like if you go into, a business or go into finances or looking to make an investment, you will be a fool not to seek some guidance about something that you don't know nothing about, or, you want to have all the information that you could possibly get and be advised on some direction about how to go about doing what you're doing, or if it's right to do.
Right. So if
again,
everybody knew where they were going, nobody would need a map. How about that?
Yes, absolutely true. Another one, real quick again, because I have several,
Mhm.
but let me read this last one before we move forward again. This was Proverbs 19 and 20. It says, "Listen to counsel and accept discipline, that that you may be wise the rest of the days of your life."
Mm.
So again, we all should seek and listen to the counsel again, and we're talking about wise counsel. You know, somebody who we know who is knowledgeable about whatever particular subject or topic. And since
Right.
we're talking about marriage, somebody who's wise about marriage, not just anybody, and accept the discipline, because sometimes we look at things from the wrong perspective or go into it for the wrong reasons, you know. Um, Again, but it speaks to the wisdom that you will have the rest of your life if you choose to live your life this way,
Mhm.
in seeking counsel and being disciplined again, because God disciplines his people because he loves his people.
Mhm.
A father disciplines his children because he loves his children. So we to accept that again, that bit of wisdom, so we can have some wisdom for the rest of our days.
Amen. Amen. Yes. Um. So moving forward, I'm going down what Google has to say in regards to premarital counseling. I did this last night. Do it again today.
Okay.
Okay. So it says, consider these before you walk down the aisle, and you'll reduce your chances of getting divorced. This is for Google. Be good friends. We already talked about that. Don't expect your partner to change. I mentioned that last week. Don't go in thinking you're going to change somebody to fit your mold. Okay? That person is who they are. You learn to work with, you learn to deal with, you learn to compromise, you learn to, in some cases, ignore. Okay? Because that's just what they're going to do.
In some cases, just accept.
Yeah, and just accept it. That's who they are. And I do want to get to my checklist, because I did mention that I want to get to the checklist.
You did.
But to communicate consistently and communicate about everything. Everything. Okay? And that includes the fun, difficult conversations that you just don't want to have, but you know they don't happen anyway. Okay? Value your partnership. Value that person that has decided to spend the rest of their life with you. Value that.
Yeah.
Work on things together. There are things you do apart, and then there are things you do together. Okay? You do not have to be under each other 24/7, 365 for the relationship to work. You can be apart from each other and go do what you enjoy doing and come back and do things together. Whether it's picking furniture, choosing sheets, or painting the house, you can do things together. And also play together. Laugh and have some fun. Have a weekend. Go and spend the night somewhere that's not your house. Go and have dinner. We call it date night in the marriage world, okay? It doesn't necessarily have to be a date night. It could just be a time where you go have fun. You can go take a walk. You can go down to Ocean City and just walk along the shore if you want to take a 4-hour trip. You can go someplace you've never gone before. They may have gone before. I know my husband and I had this conversation before, where before we got married, I got upset because he had been so many places that I wanted to go that I had not been. But then I started to understand it wasn't the fact that he had already gone to these places and enjoyed these places. It was that we had not gone and enjoyed it together. So there was a difference in him going and being there by himself or going, with his family or whatever the case may be. But when we go together, we make our own memory, our own, special time of it. So that place takes on a whole different meaning, like when we went on the cruise. Things of that nature, enjoying the things that we're able to enjoy. So when we get ready to go on our next cruise, Byron and Adria, if you're listening, when we get ready to go on the next cruise, we know we're going to enjoy it even more. Even though we may go back to the same places, we know where we want to go. We know the things that we would like to do. We know we enjoy, experiencing the ship and the ports and the stops and just the beauty of the places that we would only get to see on television. So play together.
I mean, I think, and we enjoyed it so much because we enjoy each other. So it really doesn't even matter where we go. We make sure that we have a good time.
Right. Now, the other 3 characteristics here are: marry someone who has intimacy needs that match yours. Okay. Now, it goes into say, I'm going to read this. It says, marriages can work between joined at the hip couples, and they also can work between highly independent couples. But it's hard to sustain a marriage between clingy people and a standoffish person. So if somebody's too clingy, that's going to make you feel a certain type of way. But if you've dealt with this through counseling, then you'll understand. I mean, to me, counseling is going to help you deal with the clingy person or the person who just doesn't want to, it's like, that don't work for me. I can't do that.
Yeah, I think that and we talked about that before when we talked about love and understanding love languages.
Mm-hmm.
If you understand that your mate has a different love language, if your mate's love language is to be a bit more clingy,
Mm-hmm.
then again, there's, like you said, some things you have to accept
Right.
and understand
And
that,
look back into what was other.
right, if you
Gotcha.
love that person enough that you will accept what it is they have. And even, the clingy person still has to accept that the other person may not be that way, but there's a place that you come to in the middle where you realize, okay, well, I can allow her to cling a little bit, but okay, well, she may go, okay, well, now I need to cut it off at some place because this irritates me.
Right.
And hopefully, you'll meet someplace where that's comfortable and
Right.
you can make it work for each other.
Exactly. Now, these last two, it may not fit everybody. I know this, you make decisions before you become a couple and before you get married, things like this. And we've talked about these before. One, it says to have sex multiple times before you get married and make sure you're sexually compatible. Many people aren't going to do that. They're going to save themselves for marriage and then discover each other sexually through marriage.
No, I think that's the other way around. I think most people are gonna see if they're compatible before
Well, that's true,
marriage.
but you have those that will save themselves for marriage and
Right, but
discover each other via marriage.
but those people are few and far between.
Right,
to
they
be
are.
honest.
Right, they
I
are.
mean, to be real, that a lot of folks are not willing to do that.
Right. And
A
you're
lot
right.
of people, because of how the world has placed in that desire for sex or intimacy by a lot of people.
Mhm.
Again, unless you're a Christian and you have that guidance, you have that line that you say that you're not going to cross. And a lot of people, even as Christians, have crossed that line, because I've heard discussions about that, because it's a difficult thing. If you've been all your life, you've been, intimate sexual person, then it's hard to, once you finally meet this person, say, okay, well, now I'm not going to do this. I'm just going to wait until the end.
Right.
It's a real hard thing to do unless you're a committed Christian.
Mhm.
And even in our relationship, again, it was a difficult thing to come to a decision
Right.
about,
Right.
and to decide to do or not do.
Right.
It wasn't easy, and it's not easy.
No, never is easy. Now, the last one says to live together for at least a year before you get married to make sure you're compatible roommates. Now, I told you last week, tried that with my ex-husband. We lived together for a year. Okay. Decided everything was hunky-dory, went forward. But then things fell apart in the marriage. So that's another thing that it depends on who you are. We made the decision to maintain separate households.
Right.
We made that decision. We came together on the weekends, we could come together, and that's the way we worked it. And there were times where there were lengthy periods apart because of work and because of other things going on in our lives and so on and so forth. So that last one is again, that goes into whether you're a committed Christian or not.
Right. Those last two depends on where you stand in your
Right.
in your walk with God, or your not your walk with God again. But because I understand the reasons for those two things, and again, those they can be helpful, especially if you're not a Christian, you're not saved Christian, you're not living for Christ. Then I can understand you wanting to do them things because it may be helpful.
Right. So, those are just some of the things. The other things that, what to consider before getting married is premarital counseling. It depends on where you're going. Okay? Depends on where you're going and how much you're willing to spend. If you want to go to a brand name counselor that you've seen on television, then go spend your money. But, premarital counseling does not have to cost an arm and a leg.
No. Again, especially if you go to the church, if you go to a pastor who has counseling, they'll have time for you if they understand.
Schedule you,
and especially if
put you
you're
right
planning
on.
on having a church wedding, then again, it's costly. there is no cost to that, I'm sorry, generally. And then you're going to get some wise counsel. You're going to get some tough questions. You're gonna get the thumbs up or the not thumbs up if you realize that, you two aren't ready for it.
And believe me, if the pastor's doing their job, you have pastors that will tell you, I don't think you all should
Right.
get
Oh,
married.
there were some pastors who would just simply not marry you
Yep.
if you're not ready or if you're not,
They don't feel
you're
you're ready.
not
They feel
compatible,
not.
whatever. It's like, I don't feel right about doing this because it's not.
And it's not because, it's because they're seeing, depending on how you're answering, how you're interacting, how you're dealing with the matters that would come with before, during, and even after marriage. Because just to branch off just a little bit, when you get married, you don't know what tomorrow will bring. Okay, we talk about this a lot. Tomorrow's not promised. We don't know what's going to happen in the next 2 hours, much less the next 2 minutes. Okay, anything could happen to your spouse. They could accidentally get hurt at work. They could be on disability. They could be.
That's just the
That
reality of
goes
life.
back to
Brother.
that incident or what was happening on that episode of Fix My Life. Anything could happen. There could be health issues. There could be where they need round-the-clock care. It could be anything that could happen that could take you away from the vibrancy that you're experiencing now. So never take for granted the things that you go through on a daily basis. And that narrows right on down to walking, talking, breathing, eating, sleeping, speaking, hearing. Okay, those things, do not take them for granted. They may seem small, but when they disappear, it becomes a bigger issue. So make sure that you're aware that anything can happen within a marriage. Period. I'm just putting that out there.
Yeah. I mean, and just like, on the show, there were some realities, and a lot of people are like that, certain realities that some people don't want to face or have a discussion about because you just don't see it as real. And some people look at it as you're thinking negative because you're bringing up these different scenarios of what could, but it's a good thing to think about them and have a discussion about them because you'll know where you or your partner stand on those difficult issues.
Agreed. And again, it comes in all the time, but it's communicate often. It's, I think I talked about this before some time ago, how sometimes, this comes down to my checklist, but how sometimes men will see another man saying, I gotta call my wife real quick. And the first thing they'll say, oh man, she got you checked, she got you whipped, you calling in and checking in. Why you gotta check in with your wife? You a man. You ain't got to tell her nothing. And it's not about checking in, it's about showing respect to the relationship. I'm good. I'm hanging with the fellas. I'm here. Call me if you need me. Like that scenario I talked to you about with the guy who felt that he ain't got to do nothing at home. That was his wife's job until his friends showed him that marriage is a partnership. It's not all about what she can do in the kitchen and what she can do in the bedroom. This is your home. You're building it together. So,
Yeah, and I think that touches on, what we talked about perspectives and perception.
Yep, most definitely. I brought up checklist because many females have a checklist. And if you don't meet every criteria on this checklist, they ain't gonna deal with you. And a lot of things on these checklists that females have are material. Does he have a car? Does he make $60,000 plus a year? Does he have his own house? You don't live in the basement at his mama's house. Does he have his own house? Okay. Can he take me out to so-said restaurant 2-3 times a week? Okay. I need to go on vacation and I don't go anywhere that's not out, if it's not Jamaica, if it's not Paris, it ain't vacation, that kind of thing. I personally think checklists need to go out the door. Yes, there are some things that you want in your relationship, but to checklist a man or a woman in regards to material versus what they can offer you spiritually, emotionally, mentally, and physically, you're not really looking at the relationship. That's why I wanted to bring up checklists.
Yeah.
Because it's not about his $1,000 suits. It's not about whether he's wearing Armani or he's wearing Giorgio or he's wearing, the Steve Harvey collection or whatever it may be. And it's not about, where they get their cologne from and this, that. Does he take a shower every day? Yay. Okay. Does he put some cologne on? Alrighty. Okay. Does he go to work where he's, and do his job, whether his job is cleaning out a school, driving a bus, maintaining an office, whatever it is, does he go to work? Okay. If he's not working, is he going to school? Is he working part-time? Is he doing something to better himself? There's more than just, the money and where he takes you out to eat. That's what I'm saying. Stop me at any time.
I mean, I'm pretty much in agreement with what you are, but understand if that is, what matters to them,
Mm-hmm.
and that's on their checklist. Of course, it's from the outside looking in, it's superficial, but sometimes, people have certain needs, certain things they know would make them happy. And if they believe that that's what makes them happy, you can set them checklists if you want. You're probably not going to find all those things that you want on that list because it's just those superficial things. We understand that it's not going to matter later on down the road. It's not going to help you resolve issues. It's not going to really make you happy. But sometimes that's the perspective that you're looking from at a particular time. And sometimes that's age specific.
Right.
Usually when you start to mature a little bit, you stop thinking so much just about those material things and where you can take me and that kind of stuff.
Right.
But it is.
I'm not a checklist
It's what
girl.
it is.
If you're a checklist girl, more power to you. I'm just not a checklist girl.
Right.
I have a man, but at dating, I look for more than just, where you take me and how much you spending on me. That's me. That's
Right.
I'm old fashioned. Like
But the reality of it is most of us have some type of checklist. Most of us, even if it's not something that you actually write down, there's certain things that you look for in particular with somebody you want to get married. The things you really have to realize is how much do those things really matter?
Right.
How big are those things really in the big picture of things? Again, because a lot of times when you look at those things are superficial, you're not looking at the big picture. You're not looking long term. So again, it's okay to have them, but again, you have to realize that some of them things are going to break down because if you're looking for things, sometimes, somebody who's making a certain amount of money or got a certain car may lose a job and all of those things will change.
Mm.
Now, the stuff that you have to look at is going to be different
Right.
because you're not going to have them things you felt like you needed. And then you'll realize it's superficial, especially if you got somebody who's a good man or a good person. Has a good heart, good character, integrity, and those kind of things. So I think we definitely, when those checklists to be made, they should not be made again with those superficial things. But
And
some
look,
men have some as well. So
Yeah, I'm quite sure.
understand.
I'm quite sure, and I'm not saying like I just said, I'm not a checklist girl.
Right.
If
No,
you are a
that's
checklist girl
understandable.
and that is something you do, carry on. I am not here to tell anybody to throw their checklist away because I am not the end all be all authority on how you should date and this, that, and the other. All I'm saying is for me, I'm not a checklist girl.
That's understandable.
You want something of substance, you want something, you gotta go, like you said, looking beyond the setup to the altar, and then when everybody go home.
Right.
Because when everybody go home, it's you and that person. It's not you and your girlfriends. It's not you and your fellas. It's you and that person and what's going to happen once everybody goes home. Okay, so
Agreed. Now let me ask you a question. How do you think a man's perspective or perception of marriage differs from a woman?
well, I touched on this last week because a man's perception of marriage, people. Let me backtrack a little bit. Some people feel that when a man gets married, he's just looking for someone who mirrors his mom. In other words, somebody that's going to take care of him. Okay? And other men are looking for someone they can actually build a life with, build that legacy and things like that. Go ahead.
No, what I was going to say, but I just want you to answer how it differs as you
I'm
believe
getting
it. Because it's hard for you to really truly say what a man
That's why I
is
said
thinking
some.
about or
I
looking
don't
for in
Right.
what their perspective or perception of marriage is.
To me, I don't. women put more of an emphasis on marriage because that apparently, well, not apparently, that is supposed to be the ultimate goal for a female in life, is to be married, to have the 2.5 kids, the house with the fence, and all that other stuff. That is what the goal is for a female. For a man, I'm gonna be honest with you, I don't know what the goal is for a man in terms of marriage, because men don't talk about marriage like that. Do they want to be married? I've never heard a man just say, someday I'm going to get married and I'm gonna have it. No, I don't. I can't say what the difference is. I can tell you from the women, for men, if marriage is on the table, it's just like, let's just do this and let's just move on. It's not this, I planned my life out to be married by this age. I don't think that's where a man is.
Some men do.
Mhm.
Some men absolutely do, because if
Okay.
they've had, that father figure that's always been in their life, and their dad may have gotten married by 25 and had kids and developed certain things, then of course that's sometimes in a man's mind as well.
Right, but that's pressure on him. What if you don't get married by
It's
25?
pressure.
What if she don't get married by 25?
But it's not necessarily a pressure. It may be something that you see as the standard or a regular thing in
Okay.
your marriage. Your grandfather may have done it. Your great grandfather may have done it. So it's not something that's pressurized. It's somebody telling you that you got to, but it's something that you looked at and seen
Mhm.
as a mold or model to
But then if you
go after.
don't fit that, not if you don't fit, if you don't achieve that goal or that model, or you don't in that category, because
It doesn't matter. I'm just saying that some men who think that way for those
Okay.
reasons. It's not so much going into whether you fit that model or not.
Mhm.
There's just some people who have had that model and will follow that model. Just like people who've had, military people in their family. They'll follow along and go into the military because they've come from a military family.
right,
So I'm just saying that that's the exact same way sometimes that men may think about marriage. No, it's not like no men think about marriage before.
Mhm.
That's not the case. It just depends on the person's situation, their environment, and what they've become accustomed to seeing.
okay, and you have men like women who, like you, like me, who have come up in families where we've seen marriages that have longevity. We have family members that have been in the long haul for quite some time. We look at our grandparents. I mentioned this last week about our grandparents that have been married 50, 60, plus years. Um, and, most of them come out saying, what's the secret? Happy life, but both of you are in it. It's got to be more than just a happy wife, happy life. What about your happiness? Doesn't your happiness count in a marriage? It's not just the wife, you're both in it. So, but I get it, what they're saying. I get it. Please don't let us misunderstand.
Trust me,
I get
there is some definite truth to that.
Mhm.
There, whether that's the ultimate, a man's ultimate goal is to make their wife happy, but you understand, I'm gonna have to do some things to make her happy, or she gonna make me miserable. And
Happy spouse, happy house. Okay.
not so much just make you miserable, but that's the only way sometimes to keep the household sane and functioning is to make sure that mama is taken care of,
Mhm.
because mama has a need to be secured and to feel happy. Because she's not,
Mhm.
then it's hard for me. It's hard for daddy to be happy if mama's unhappy. So if mama's happy, okay, everything it's gonna
So
function.
security would be a thing for to put on the list for that sense of security.
Absolutely. But and that's a basic, I think, need or desire for women. And I think that's one of the things, the different perspectives or perceptions that women have or need that women has as opposed to a man.
So that would be my question to you. Would a man need a sense of security from a woman?
Absolutely, and that's where I was about to go, because and I remember hearing about a book that some gentleman wrote about why men fear making a commitment,
Mhm.
making that ultimate commitment, and it's not so much a fear of that commitment as it is, and this is generalized. This is not
Right.
for all.
Right.
Generally, it's like, and I think I mentioned that last week, is generally a man is, this is an investment.
Okay.
And we're not looking at it so much as, monetary investment. It's just an investment that, okay, now I've invested, I'm going to invest something into this thing. And men want to know what they're going to get out of this.
Okay.
They want to be sure of what it is that they're going to get out of it. And if they're unsure because they have an unstable relationship, or, everything changes about, what's in their relationship, then generally they're not going to make that commitment.
Right.
And that is the security that men need to know, is what I have, does it meet what I need, and is it going to be consistent? Is it going to be there, and it ain't so much the security thing like it is for women,
I think you
And
just said the key word, consistency.
absolutely.
It's not, like you said, it's not so much security, it's consistency. Am I going to get that on a daily or on a weekly?
Okay,
Or,
absolutely.
throughout
It's
the
like
relationship?
what I know of you that makes you happy and makes this thing function. Is that going to be the same tomorrow as it is today? If now tomorrow this thing changes, now I got to keep switching it up to fit what it is that makes you happy. And it's hard for a man to think about making that commitment when they got to keep changing. Men like comfort,
Right.
and they want to know what it is that they have and what they're investing in. If I'm going to spend the rest of my life with this woman, I want to know what I've got, and is it going to stay the same? And not expecting everything to be the same again, because we grow in different phases of it and change, right? Change together, but
Right. That's agreeable. I agree with that wholeheartedly. So security versus consistency for the long haul. Women need security, men need consistency.
yeah. And I think that's why some men, and I talked about it, in my situation, I know other men in that situation where, and it was one in those 4 P's or 5 P's that man,
Or
Yanya.
Iyama.
He
cannot stop.
every time I do it, I mess it up. But that's one of the things is a man needs to know that he can provide. A real man wants to be able to provide for his wife and give her comfort, give her that security that we know y'all generally need. So if we're not in a position to do that, then most times we're not going to make that commitment, not knowing that we can do that. Because, like I said, it's a basic innate desire that we have to be able to provide, protect, to do those 3 or 4 P's that she talked about.
Yeah, that's true. And we keep going back to that episode, because that episode has got a lot in it. If you have not seen it, I don't know what episode number it is, but if you have not seen it, go see it. It was before the Leandria episode. So if y'all are stuck on the Leandria episode, which basically is already over, go before that and watch this couple. His name is Ramon, and I can't remember the other young lady's name.
Yeah, I don't remember.
It's gonna have you talking to the screen. Trust me. Trust me. My husband had to stop me several times. It's just like, just wait till the end. It's just like, but I got something to say. Wait till the end. Okay, watch it and then have an opinion. Just saying. Okay. So, what else do we add to this walk towards the aisle? Premarital counseling. You're talking to each other. You're making decisions. So you're basically you're acting out what marriage is going to be like before the marriage. Because if you're talking, you're making decisions, you're doing things together, you're deciding whether or not to bring your houses together before or after, you're deciding whether to live together, you're deciding on whether you should have sex before marriage, which is a very hot topic because that's been a back and forth for years, whether or not you should have sex before marriage. Dealing with children. Let's close out this show real quick with a little bit on that. Dealing with children, whether you're going to have children or bringing your families together. Because for you and I, we had older children, not just a younger child. We had older children that we made a point to go to and let them know where we stood, how we felt, and what we wanted to do. And that was important for both of us. And why was it so important for you? I can tell you why it was important for me, but why was it important for you? Because you just have, your one son. So why was that important for you?
Again, because knowing it's a package deal. But if you got children, it becomes, I become a part of that family. I have to play a role, as the father figure in that life, depending on the age of the children, what their particular needs are. But understand, me as a man, understand that it's a package deal. They are part of you. So if I accept you, then I have to come to a point where I have to accept them. So that's important, and I need to be able to know that I can function in the role that I have in their lives. And the things that, like I said, need to be, the stuff that you have to deal with in a blended family is different than what you have when you have children together. So I needed to make sure that, everybody was comfortable, everybody was okay. I even asked, your oldest son, if, how he felt about it, and if he was okay, and or gave me, his approval. I actually called and asked him about that.
Right.
Because it meant something to me.
Right.
Because if I wasn't going to be accepted by him, and I knew that was going to be an issue. It was going to be an issue. So I needed to know where everything stood.
Yeah.
Everything.
And that was that big thing when I went to my children and I told them, what was going on and what was going to happen. I know my youngest one was just pretty much like, okay, mom, But, the question that came from all of my children were, are you going to be happy? Is this what you want? That is what came from them. Okay. Getting them together to, to get to know each other and things like that. That was a biggie, and we're still working on, I know, our two oldest, they talk via the phone and this, that, and the other, but to get them together to spend time together. Because, my oldest has taken on a role in his life that, he took on willingly, to take care of his mama and protect his mama, but at the same time, for him to have that, when grandpa was gone, he didn't have that older figure, so now he has you, and now, yeah. So, they have, just to have, and my oldest son has just been that big brother that, that go to, and he's a smart cookie, okay? He is a smart cookie. So, just those things in watching them come together and literally bond. I remember how Marcus and my daughter Alex bonded at our wedding. It was like they was brother and sister from the start, and they love talking, and just the fact that our children can talk to each other without, they don't have to come to us saying, I'm gonna go call so and so. Are you okay with that? No, that's your brother and sister. Go talk. Do whatever you're gonna do. That's between you all. I want them to have a relationship like that.
Yeah, I mean, and it's important, and I think that the biggest thing again is we communicated that amongst ourselves and then with the kids.
Right.
Again, that's the part of the blending that needs to happen.
Right.
That they know that who we are, what roles we play.
Right.
That we love each other and that we love them, and we are a family. If that's what we establish as the head, then they will follow if we communicate it properly.
Right. And I firmly believe that they have that because they're all comfortable with calling and coming to us and talking to us and saying what they have to say and laughing and joking, and we can have serious conversations and fun conversations. So, it works well together as a family. So I appreciate all of my children, and it's it's funny when, to hear your son call up and go, hey, mom. It's just like, and it's just like, okay, and my oldest son says the same thing. My daughter says the same thing. And then, you call your mom different things, like for your mom, I call her Mama Major. My kids, I'm either mom, mama. Nobody calls me mommy. I don't think I've ever heard anybody in my family call anybody mommy. It's either mom, or mama.
Julian does it sometimes.
Sometimes, well, that's true.
He does.
That's true. But mom is just, that seems to fit. And then I know for the longest time, and to this day, my oldest son still calls me Ma Dukes. I don't know. Why do mothers get that title? What is Ma Dukes? Somebody explain Ma Dukes to me. Right. But, there's a lot of Ma Dukes running around. But apparently it's something that fits and it's something I need to learn. Or I need to just leave alone and let my children have it. Okay. But I'm enjoying this marriage series. I really am. We're explaining a lot. We're we're even kind of recapping the things that we've gone through.
No, but that's what we do. That's the thing I love about what we do, and I think that people who appreciate what we do is we share. We give them insight into who we are and what we've experienced as
Right.
well. We can be transparent no matter what issue we talk about.
Right.
We can be transparent about what it is that we feel about this particular, or our particular struggle, or things that we had to go through on any and every particular issue. And I think I enjoy it. I know that.
So it is like, do you have a major thought of the day?
I do.
Would you like to share that before we get up out of here? Because it's
I
almost
will.
time for us to get up out of here.
I will. And I think, again, it kind of comes from, what I was talking about, the devotion I was talking about. It's about, marriage and the journey. And I think the biggest thing in that journey is, especially understanding, from that point forward, is understanding the commitment that it is to get married. I mean, because it is a commitment, it is a covenant. I know for those who are Christians, those who go through the church, who live their life as Christians, it is a covenant between, you and your wife and God. So it's a covenant, just like the covenant he made with us. So it's a bond, it's a contract that needs to be taken seriously, or they're going to be some repercussions. But understanding, it is a commitment. If you commit to that marriage, there's certain things that you're going to have to do to make it work. And understanding that it's a journey, it's a long haul, and be prepared to deal with whatever it's going to take. Just as if you were starting a business, understand what commitment you have to the job, what commitment to your customers or whatever it may be, and how to get through those difficult times to the long, in that long journey.
Right.
For it to be successful,
Amen.
if there is a commitment. So truly just understand that there's a commitment.
Okay, y'all heard that major thought from my husband. Understand the commitment, understand what it is you're getting into, and don't be afraid of counseling. I just want to add that. Don't be afraid to ask for the help. Don't be afraid to go to somebody and say, let's hash this out and see what's going on. Let's make sure we're on the same track. So it's almost time for us to get out of here. Thank you all for joining us. Facebook Live, YouTube. Get out there, enjoy your day. Bless somebody, because you may be the only blessing they get. And as we say here, we love you.
And there's absolutely nothing you can do.
Not a doggone thing. Enjoy your weekend. It is starting to get spring-like outside. So open up them windows, air out the house. All right. We love you. We'll see you next week. Have a blessed day. Enjoy your weekend. Peace out.
God bless.
They've been building in Flint filled with abandoned cases of donated water. Would that? I'm wondering if that is
Flint, Michigan?
Flint, Michigan. I'm gonna open this real quick because I want to find out. This is as of day before yesterday. They were discovered in a former school. The water was found by two people who were inside an old school next to the former St. Agnes Church. Water mixed with debris. This is water these people have been needing and wanting and can't get. Roberto Torres recalls delivering and unloading water at the church from donors in Grand Rapids. So people were unloading water at this church and the water was never given out. See, that's kind of like the Red Cross, where you go donate and then your money never goes where it's supposed to go.
Even being donated to a church, then even the church should have maybe reached out to other churches, in their community to see.
We are out of here, folks. Y'all enjoy your day. Peace.